This research paper on AlphaCode, AI actually writing code, colored me impressed and maybe a little intimidated. It feels like we're stepping into the future.
Definitely a hot topic, no doubt about that. This paper is a game-changer deep mind training AlphaCode to go up against humans in competitive programming. It's a fascinating look under the hood.
Okay, back up a second for me. Competitive programming, that's where like coders go head to head, right? Almost like the Olympics but for code.
Exactly, it's the big leagues. You need serious coding chops, sure, but it goes way beyond just knowing a programming language. You're talking problem solving, algorithms, data structures. It's a real test. You could even say it takes a certain, well, computational creativity.
And we're saying AlphaCode's going toe-to-toe with these seasoned human coders. That's wild. One thing that jumped out at me, the paper mentions AlphaCode reaching the level of a median competitor on Code Forces. I know folks who live on that platform, so that's got to be saying something, right? But what does median competitor even mean in this context?
Think of it this way.
Hmm.
You line up all the Codeforces competitors by skill, from beginner all the way up to, grandmaster level. The median competitor is the one smack dab in the middle. So not a newbie, but not yet a legend either.
So AlphaCode is holding its own against a solid, average human coder. I mean, that's still seriously impressive.
Right. It's a huge, huge leap, no question. We've seen AI dabble in code before, but nothing even close to this level of performance. And what really excites me, it's not just about AlphaCode, racking up wins in these coding contests. It's showing us that AI can potentially take on these really complex problems, the kind we always thought were, uniquely human.
It blew my mind, honestly, when I saw how AlphaCode actually goes about finding solutions. It spits out this massive amount of code, then it's like it has this internal filter, whittling it down to the best options, kind of a brute force brainstorming session.
Exactly. That's the crux of it. They call it massive scaling of sampling. Instead of laser focusing on the perfect solution right off the bat, which, let's face it, is incredibly hard, they let AlphaCode explore a ton of possibilities. Then they've got these really clever filtering techniques to pick out the winners. Of course, to make that work at all, they had some major hurdles to overcome.
Like what kind of hurdles are we talking about?
Well, for one, think about it. How do you teach AlphaCode to think like a human programmer? That's no small feat, right? We're talking serious problem solving here.
Yeah, it's not just about memorizing lines of code, right? It has to actually understand what it's trying to solve and get creative.
Right. It's about understanding the problem, breaking it down, and really getting those creative juices flowing. And that's where this whole massive scaling of sampling thing comes in. It's not just, oh, let's generate a lot of code and hope for the best. It's about letting AlphaCode go wild, explore a huge range of possibilities, and then using some really smart filtering to zero in on those golden solutions.
Okay, I'm starting to get it, but how do you even begin to teach AlphaCode to do that? Is it just memorizing code? I mean, there's a ton of code out there, right? Open source and all that. Could it be just like regurgitating stuff?
Now, that is the million-dollar question, and believe me, the researchers thought of that too. They actually designed AlphaCode from the ground up to analyze the problem, break it down into manageable pieces, and then experiment with different coding approaches to, piece together a solution.
So less like copy paste, more like giving AlphaCode a whole box of Lego bricks and it figures out how to build something new.
Exactly. That's a great way to put it. It's all about learning the underlying logic, the fundamental building blocks, and then figuring out how to apply them in new ways. And to really see if they had achieved that, you know what the researchers did? They got even trickier. They started giving AlphaCode tweaked versions of problems, ones it had never seen before in training.
Oh, so they changed the rules of the game, seeing if it could adapt.
Exactly. And get this,
Yeah.
AlphaCode was able to adapt and still churn out working code. So that tells us something, right? It's not just memorizing. It's actually learning how to generalize, how to take what it knows and apply it to new situations.
That's pretty mind-blowing when you think about it. It's like, I don't know if I want to say thinking like a human, but it's definitely doing something pretty sophisticated.
It really is. And this is why this paper is causing such a stir. It's pushing the boundaries of what we thought was even possible with AI. We're talking about potentially using AI to help us solve incredibly complex problems in fields like medicine, engineering, you name it.
Okay, now we're talking. This is where my mind starts to race a little. This could completely change the game. I mean, imagine AI helping us design life-saving drugs or, I don't know, composing symphonies. The possibilities are endless.
Right. It's incredibly exciting. But let's not get ahead of ourselves. It's important to remember this is still early days. As amazing as AlphaCode is, it's not about to replace human programmers, at least not tomorrow. Think of it more like we've got this powerful new tool in our arsenal.
A tool to help us be more creative, More efficient. I like the sound of that. But what does this tool actually look like for, say, a working programmer? Like, how would they actually use AlphaCode in their day-to-day?
Okay, so imagine this. You're a programmer, you're deep in the code, trying to build something amazing, right?
Yeah.
But then you hit a wall. This one algorithm, it's just got you stumped. You've been staring at your screen for hours and dot nothing.
And that's where AlphaCode swoops in to save the day.
You got it. Instead of another late night fueled by coffee and frustration, you turn to AlphaCode. You explain the problem, what you're trying to achieve, any constraints, that kind of thing. And AlphaCode gets to work.
And a few seconds later, boom, out pops the solution.
Well, not quite instantaneous, but yeah, it dives into its vast knowledge base of code, all those patterns it's learned, and starts generating potential solutions.
But these aren't just like random code snippets, right? It's actually considering things like efficiency, best practices, even different coding styles.
Absolutely. That's the beauty of it. It's not just about spitting out code that works. It's about generating code that's elegant, efficient, and readable. It's almost like having a coding buddy who's like a walking encyclopedia of best practices whispering solutions in your ear.
That's amazing. And this coding buddy never needs sleep, right? Never gets tired or frustrated.
Never. You can keep chugging away, exploring all those different pathways, while you, the human programmer, can take a step back. Focus on the bigger picture. Maybe grab another cup of coffee, but this time, enjoy it.
I can see this being a game changer for like everyone, indie developers, startups, even students who are just getting started with coding. It's like having a senior developer on call 24/7.
100%. And you know what excites me most about all of this? It has the potential to open up the world of programming to people who might have thought it was just, beyond their reach. Imagine a world where anyone with a good idea, anyone with the creativity to solve a problem can actually build that app, that website, whatever they dream up, even without a computer science degree.
Okay, that's a future I can definitely get behind. But it also makes you wonder, what happens when, not if, when AI can code better than most humans? Is there even a point to learning to code anymore?
It's a question we're all grappling with, right? But even if, and I think it's a matter of when, even if AI surpasses human capabilities in coding, there's always going to be a need for human creativity, for ingenuity. We'll shift our focus to the higher level stuff, to defining the problems that need to be solved in the first place, to imagining new applications, new possibilities. We become the architects, if you will.
So it's not about humans versus AI, it's about humans and AI working together.
Exactly, the collaboration. And that's where things get really interesting. Because when you bring together the best of human ingenuity and the raw power of AI, well, who knows what we might accomplish. The possibilities are truly endless. Think about the advances we could see in medicine, in education, in tackling climate change. It's pretty inspiring when you think about it that way.
This entire deep dive has been a wild ride, honestly. When I first saw this AlphaCode paper, I was intimidated, I'll be honest. But you've done an amazing job of breaking it all down, not just explaining what AlphaCode is, but really getting at the so what, which is what we're all about here.
The pleasure was all mine, really. This paper is a powerful reminder that we're living in a time of incredible technological advancement. And sure, it can be a little daunting, even a little scary at times, but let's be honest, it's also incredibly exciting.
Absolutely. So, to everyone listening, if you're curious about where technology is headed, about what the future might hold, I highly recommend checking out this AlphaCode paper. It's a window into what might be just around the corner, and trust me, it's a future worth exploring.